Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 50th episode of Double Take. My name is Alex. I'm here with my brother, not Jonathan, Johnny Boy, Johnny Rockets. John, where are you right now? How come we're not sitting together, bro? Where you at?
Well, the Cocoa Monster did get me.
Mm.
I guess life on a college campus or petri dish campus has gotten over to me, but it's all right. I'm doing fine. Had a bit of a sore throat this weekend. Got tested yesterday, and I'm actually here in Pine Manor College. It's Boston College actually just bought this campus, and it's our isolation housing. They're gonna like renovate it and do something to it, and I think they're gonna have a new program over here. But it's super nice. The staff has been very nice. I got a heater in here because it's very cold. Um, I'm gonna have to order food, I think, for meals, but it's going well. Can't complain. BC has done a great job with their COVID planning, and so yeah, here I am in a dorm
Whoa.
room.
John, I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. It's actually kind of funny, probably like out of our 10 or 12 closest friends, I think maybe three of us haven't had it. I'm one of those people. So hopefully I can stay away from Omicron. But as I said, John, it is
No,
our,
we don't know what I have. It could be a different strain. I thought I
who
already,
knows?
I'm already boosted though, and so it's interesting. I had a bit of a sore throat, so
Yeah. Well, it's our 50th episode, John. So why don't we start off? I mean, it's been, I guess we've almost been doing this, I'll say 2.5 years, which is pretty
2019,
cool.
our first episode.
Yeah, it took us a while to get to 50. I think that means that we're about an episode every few weeks, every 2 weeks maybe, which I know we definitely had some long dry spells, and then we had the moments where we were really popping off. But what was your favorite memory, John, when we since the time we began Double Take?
I mean, I think you know the answer. Like it's pretty obvious. It was definitely for the pandemic. We get sent home. The season's over. The 2019-2020 NBA season, and we did corn things, which we did like 7 episodes just talking about random stuff like Tiger King and music and just random topics because there was no sports to talk about. And of course, the season comes back and the bubble, people hate on the Heat for, oh, they're just a bubble team. And even LeBron, who said he wanted to have the LA championship parade with the Rams and with the Dodgers. People are saying, oh, you want your fake pandemic ring? People can keep hating. The rules were the same for all teams. The Lakers won and the Heat made it to the finals. So, of course, that was it for me. We were pumping out episodes.
Already defending the bubble finals, and we're just a
That's
minute into the show.
double take. This is a Miami Heat podcast. Nah, so yeah, I mean, we were pumping out episodes from everything from first round versus the Pacers, gentlemen sweeping the Giannis-led Bucks that back-to-back MVP Giannis, into the Celtics with the Bam block with Bam's incredible Game 6 with Tyler Hero being clutch shopping 37 on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then of course, Dragic goes down, Bam goes down in the finals. Jimmy Butler has a heroic Game 3 and Game 5. We're one game away from a Game 7 versus LeBron and the Lakers. And when we were a 5 seed, no one expected us to even get there. And we were 2 games short of winning the title. That has to be it. So I took yours too. I
Yeah,
thought it was going to be yours out.
I'm
But
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely the basketball side of it mostly, and like that was huge for us as a podcast. Because it gave us kind of a reason and more motivation. I remember we wake up at like 8 or 9 a.m., which for college kids, that's pretty early for us when we really didn't have any reason to get up other than for class. So I'm glad we were doing that. I'm glad we pumped out those episodes. That was a lot of fun, John. So cheers to 50, cheers to 50 more. And let's get into it. So today, John, it's Super Bowl Tuesday. I don't know if that's a term that people use, but we had Super Bowl 56 this weekend. It was pretty anticipated. We were both a little bit bummed that the Chiefs were not in it. We definitely love Patrick Mahomes. We definitely had some money on Patrick Mahomes. And instead, we had the Rams versus the Bengals, which was an unusual matchup. It was the first time 2 4 seeds had both made the Super Bowl. And of course, the outcome was the Rams ended up winning, which we both predicted would happen. They did not cover the spread. It was 23-20. Some of the biggest storylines of that game, John, you had Odell Beckham with the injury scary injury to his knee, which completely altered the game. Then you have that the T. Higgins offensive pass interference, which was completely missed against Jalen Ramsey, which leads to their scoring a touchdown 12 seconds into the second half. That was a big play of the game. Of course, for some reason, Sean McVay goes super run heavy. That didn't really make sense. I saw on Twitter they had 0 successful carries based on a advanced stat called EPA, and they had 18 carries. They were only one of 4 teams to have a 0% rushing success rate, John, in a game over the last 6 seasons. But those other 3 teams that they were, included with had only single digit carries. So it was like we were all kind of watching it, and those advanced stats kind of say it too. But it was like they're not having success with the run. Why aren't they throwing? You have Matt Stafford. You traded all your draft capital for him, and you have Cooper Kupp, who's the best receiver in football this year. What's going on? Eventually, they finally go to him at the end of the game. And we were frustrated with Stafford, but he did make some nice plays down the stretch there, despite he had those 2 picks. And they win. So as Cooper Kupp wins the MVP, John, how did this Super Bowl kind of meet your expectations? Did you enjoy it? What were some of your takeaways?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of people were saying, oh, like it wasn't that good of a Super Bowl. But to me, the measure of a great Super Bowl is like, well, how close is it? Was it perceivable that each of these teams could pull off a win within I would say the fourth quarter, but specifically in the last couple minutes of the game? And yeah, and so if you were rooting one way or the other, you were definitely, you were sweating out that final 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I had money. I put money on both teams. So every year, last year I picked the wrong winner. The year before, I picked the Niners, and then the Rams won. I have a bad history of picking Super Bowls. Not the Rams, my bad. The Chiefs won 2 years ago, and then last year I picked the Chiefs, of course, and then Tom Brady wins it. But I actually think for that reason, it ended up being a fun end to the game. I ended up coming out 0. I did bet a lot of money on the game and ended up, balanced out all my big bets, and they balanced out my losses
That's
and my
good.
wins.
That's a successful Super Bowl, John.
Yeah, I didn't lose money, so we'll take that. But no, I think, these 2 teams, I think it was fun. They were both likable. Everyone really is like, oh, Stafford with the Lions. Everyone felt for him being on, a garbage team for so long. And then, of course, Burrow, he feels like he's got one of the highest quarterback approval ratings. And I think it's because when you're a guy that's that young, kind of reminds me of Steph Curry. And he was a good young scorer, and then boom, he's in the finals. It's like he's new. It's not LeBron. It's not the Spurs. Like, people liked it. And I felt that Mahomes was that way, but I guess people are already having Mahomes fatigue because some of our
And
friends in our fantasy
well,
football
there's
group.
definitely, uh, people frustrated with everyone rushing to anoint him as like the next
Yeah,
GOAT, which I'm guilty of. And then, of course, I think his brother, people get annoyed with his brother. So you're right.
come on.
Burrow, especially Joe Burrow walking in. I mean, what he did at LSU, he's a classic underdog story. Same reason everyone loves Brady. And then he comes into the league within 2 years. He has a terrible injury. Now they go from 2 wins. They draft him. They have 4 wins with him, and then they are in the Super Bowl now. There's that photo of him. He's got the Cartier sunglasses walking into the game. So I think he's definitely a likable guy. And actually, for that reason, I've been saying he needs some haters. So I'm actually going to be officially, just for no reason other than because I want to, I'm going to be a Joe Burrow hater. I did also want the Rams to win because I made a future bet on them in November. I had $15 on them. So that panned out, which was nice.
I think we have to hate on him too, because that was the Dolphins. We started off 0-7 and then finished the year 5-4. We could have had him, but what was the consolation prize to that? All right, we got a good coach. He's a great,
And
Flores.
we got Tua. And we got Tua.
All right, we'll get to that.
That was the consolation, John.
No, the consolation to me was, all right, we're not getting the number 1 pick in the draft after this horrible season. We got a great coach. He's going to coach a great defense, and he's going to have a great system in place for us. And our players, even with a not great roster, want to play for him. Now it's like, okay, we got Tua. So we got the 3rd best quarterback in that draft. I mean, we can get to this stuff later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, quick takeaways just from the Super Bowl was happy to see Aaron Donald win one. I'm happy to see Stafford win one, even though, through the 2 picks, one of them wasn't his fault, but people were critical of how he played. I'm happy to see Cooper Kupp get one. So I think
Odell
OBJ,
Beckham, bro. Odell, we like
OBJ,
Odell. We're no Odell
right?
haters here.
OBJ. So I think Sean McVay, who he also had a questionable coaching game, but you
Yeah.
know, funny. Nick Wright tweeted after the game. Nobody's gonna remember that when they look at the history books. You're gonna say he's the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl.
Mm.
So there you go. I think, and coming into it's funny, and this maybe can lead us to our next topic of conversation is going into the game. I remember, EJ, our friend Emily Jane, she's talking about, oh, which team are you guys rooting for? And my reasoning with the Rams was kind of like, you know what, the Rams went all in on this year, let them win it. Joe Burrow will be back. But you actually look at the NFC and the AFC, and I don't know, Alex. I mean, who do you think realistically will get back? I have my answer, but who do you think is going to get back sooner? This Rams team
Yeah.
or the Burrow-led Bengals?
Yeah, that's definitely a big question after this one. I mean, I mentioned it before. 2 4 seed teams, right? So there were 2 basically underdog teams. You didn't expect them to make it. It was the first time a Super Bowl hasn't featured a 1, 2, or 3 seed, and it was also the first time. It was the highest combined loss total, which obviously there was an extra game this season. But so I think we had 2 kind of teams that coming into the season, people weren't so sure. The Rams went all in, traded all their draft picks away. They went superstar heavy, right? They got try to get all the best players they possibly could. The Cincinnati Bengals somehow turn around very quick, very, very ahead of schedule, go from 2 wins a few seasons ago, now in the Super Bowl. So yeah, when you ask me who's going to make it, I think who is more likely to make it again, I would say the pick that makes the most sense would be the Bengals. However, I'm actually I don't know if this is a zag. This is probably a zag. I actually don't think the Bengals have as good of a shot to make it over the next few seasons as everyone else seems to think they do. They have to figure out their offensive line, of course. They do. When you have Joe Burrow is the only reason that they were able to turn around as a franchise. I think.
And the receivers, and
The
the
receivers
defense.
are good, but you can have all the good receivers in the world, and it doesn't matter if you don't have a guy who can make a difference, right? So, however, though, I'm worried, and he had that terrible injury a year ago or whatever it was. They didn't draft Penei Sewell. They got Jamar Chase, which right that seems like it panned out, obviously. But when you're in the Super Bowl and he has that scary, he gets tackled and his knee gets a little bit twisted up, and it's his good knee, and everyone's wondering. And I think the first thing I was seeing all over on Twitter when that happened was, geez, like they don't have such a terrible offensive line, and they somehow have been so lucky. I mean, he was sacked, I think, John, 19 times in the 4 games in the playoffs, which is the most ever. And he was sacked 3 times less than Tom Brady was sacked in the entire season this year. So there's clearly an offensive line issue. And if they can address it, it seems simple, but it's not that simple. So if they can address it, great. The other thing why I don't necessarily think I'd pick the Bengals is, maybe I'm crazy for saying that, but you're in a conference with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, even you want to throw Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of, good young quarterbacks in there. And I think when I look at the Rams, there's a lot of questions. Is Aaron Donald going to retire? I don't think he's going to retire. Is Sean McVay going to go do media now and spend more time with his family? I don't think so. Matt Stafford's going to be there. Cooper Kupp's going to be there. Like, I still believe in kind of what the Rams have, not for the next 10 years, maybe for the next really 1 or 2 seasons, which, it's very hard to make it to back-to-back Super Bowls, let alone, I guess that would be, they already made one a few seasons ago, 3 and 5 years, 3 and whatever, 6 years. But I do think that the Bengals are one of those teams that we think they're going to have such a wide window, but the window is never as big as you think it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. I don't know if you're making the Zag pick, because I think
it is. I think most people would say the Bengals.
Well, I think this is why. I think you say, all right, which team will be back? And what's the first thing you look at? Quarterback. Stafford versus Burrow. I think people are more, likely to bet, Burrow will be back in the Super Bowl. Stafford, I'm not so sure. But if you look at all the other external factors, specifically the AFC versus the NFC, and the way this is broken down, it's pretty ridiculous how much more stacked the AFC is this year. So you mentioned, Alex, Mahomes and the Chiefs, you got Josh Allen and the Bills. You wouldn't have been surprised if either of those teams won a Super Bowl this year. Both great.
I'm surprised the opposite. I would be surprised that neither of those teams won it.
Right. The Bengals, they're right in there too. We got the Chargers and Justin Herbert, who a lot of people are saying he's one of those young quarterbacks as well, who's going to be in the mix of those four guys. All right, now let's go down the line. Ravens, they had a Lamar Jackson, who's an MVP, only a couple seasons ago. They were 14-2.
And they faced a ton of injuries this year, like a ridiculous amount.
They still got Harbaugh. Okay, there's a fifth team that I wouldn't be shocked if they're in the mix next year. Then there's teams that are super talented that are a quarterback away. There's like about 5 teams, I would say. The Colts, the Steelers, the Titans. And the Titans, I mean, they were the 1 seed this year with Tannehill. So if they
I didn't even mention that.
If they make an upgrade, like, we'll see. Colts and Steelers too. Good defenses, good offensive talent. Carson Wentz, Big Ben, not really. That's not going to cut it this year. Then there's the potential Rodgers destination teams, right? Vegas is kind of in that mix there, sleeper Rodgers team. The Broncos have been linked to Rodgers, of course.
Yeah.
So those 2 teams are also a quarterback away. Now you go down the line. There's
Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel is taking us to the Super Bowl, baby.
So there's 6 teams I haven't mentioned. There you go. There's Dolphins fans that want to believe, and I actually shamelessly was up until like 1 a.m. watching Mike McDaniel interviews and just going down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and just doing all the. I'm trying to talk myself into him. He's gonna be the Tua whisperer. He's gonna figure out Tua. So there's Dolphins fans like, would you be shocked if Tua had a good season? I mean, we're Dolphins fans. I wouldn't be shocked. I hope it happens, but it wouldn't shock me if Tua and McDaniel works out in the next 2 years. Okay. Then you talk about who else have we not mentioned? Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, arguably, right? And Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is the.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't mention them in the first 10 teams.
Thing about Mac Jones, right? And then there's 4 teams left: the Jets and the Jaguars, who took Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 pick, the Jaguars, and Zach Wilson with the number 2 pick. So those are 2 young quarterbacks that were in this draft class. They went ahead of Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields. Those 2 guys are supposed to be like, all right, there's expectations there for those 2 teams.
Oh, for sure. Maybe not for Wilson.
The only 2 teams I haven't mentioned that like kind of could get it together or that haven't get together, Texans. I think the Texans are very far away. And the Browns, who, if they had kept OBJ, they're talented too.
Well, I think they're a team, John. They're obviously a team that also has talent. Their biggest problem, I think most people would say right now, is Baker Mayfield. So,
but now that they lost OBJ, coaching situation's always difficult. It's always sketchy over there. So I'll throw those 2 out of it. But other than that, just to see who I named: Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Chargers. I think there's a space there. Ravens, if Lamar's there.
Then I think Patriots. You got to mention the Patriots and Titans there too.
I mean, well, it's fine. Patriots, Titans, Colts, Steelers. Those teams are all nice. Who knows if Russell Wilson, if Aaron Rodgers, if Kyler Murray gets traded to one of those teams, they're in the mix. Vegas, Denver, Miami, who honestly were probably lower than most teams. And then again, the Jaguars and the Jets, who have their number 1 quarterback dudes they drafted. And then after that, it's the Texans and the Browns who are at the bottom of the barrel. So I think you go down, I can talk myself into like pretty much all these teams, aside from like maybe Texans, even the Jets and the Jags, like they have good if their quarterback.
Wait, are you saying make the playoffs? These teams, maybe over the next few seasons, we could see them making the playoffs. Sure. So I think
I'm just in the top because if you're really talking on Super Bowl contention, I really do think those teams I mentioned that are a quarterback away, plus Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, and Lamar. I'm going to throw Lamar in there too, even though people are kind of hopping off that wagon. But those 5 teams, I think easily, I wouldn't be stunned if they made it to the Super Bowl. So it's stacked. Now, hold on. Let's look at the NFC right now. Okay. So the Rams, if they keep their roster together, let's say McVay doesn't leave, let's say Aaron Donald doesn't retire, they should do what the Bucs did last season. Get the whole roster back together.
I agree.
One more. And if it doesn't work out, okay, the team breaks up. But keep the band together for one more season. Let's look at the number 1 and number 2 seeds. Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Both lost their quarterbacks. All right, moving on.
Wait, Green Bay, are we so sure that he's gone?
Yeah, Rodgers. Move down. Niners losing the NFC Championship. Okay, they're going to trade Garoppolo. Let's see what they can do. I think they're a good team that I would say is in the mix if they pull it off. So you got the Rams and the Niners. If Brady comes out of retirement, sure, go ahead. Give 45-year-old Tom Brady a good roster. We'll see what happens. Cowboys, are you betting on Dak to stay healthy and on Mike McCarthy to
Actually, yes. I think if Dak was in the AFC, we would have just thrown him in that group with all those other quarterbacks.
Are they going to get Sean Payton, as a new coach, right? So it's
their biggest issue is their coaching right now.
So if they get Sean Payton, we'll see what happens, right? Cardinals. I like Kyler, but he still has to prove himself, right? He was horrible in the playoffs. He's getting a lot of hate. I'm a big Kyler fan because I've had him in fantasy, pretty much I think the past 3 seasons. So Kyler fan, he's actually hurt me. I can't draft him anymore because he always gets injured for like the middle, like 5 games of the season. Right, moving on. After those teams, this is what we're talking about. Eagles, they made the playoffs. Saints didn't. Vikings, the Washington Commanders, the Seahawks, what happened to Russ Wilson, the Falcons, the Bears, the Panthers, the Giants, and the Lions. I don't think any of those teams I just named have that really strong of an argument that they have like a strong future. I mean, maybe you could say the Vikings, they got Justin Jefferson. Like they're also talented, but they're the Vikings. Sorry, shout out our boys PDK and Merm, Vikings fans, but I don't know. I don't know if Kirk can take him there. But I mean, you just look at that. So looking at that alone, the Rams next year, are they the favorite to get out of the NFC? I mean, who's the favorite other than them? Rams, Niners. I don't know who else. I'm talking
Yeah.
myself.
I
Cowboys.
think I think John, I think that's a good point. That's something I wasn't thinking of. It's like when I look at the AFC, there's definitely the clear teams. All right, who can make it? And the NFC is definitely a little bit more in limbo. And I think this year, something we were talking about before the show was, John, there's a lot of parity in the league right now, which is great, right? We love that. It's made these playoffs really fun. And it makes each year going in. It's like every team feels like they have a shot. And
Oh,
and
truly.
you can look at the Rams and you can look at the Bengals, who both just made it, and you can see those are two different kind of approaches to building a Super Bowl contending team.
Right.
And I think teams are going to try to replicate that. So,
Yeah, no,
but I
and
think I think
to finish this kind of topic about all the parity, I think you look at this season, and I said this going in, like I'm pretty, especially in the second round, I could have seen like any of those teams realistically winning it. Like, could you have the Rams, of course, won it. You could have seen the Bengals, the Chiefs, or the Bills winning it. The 49ers, they got there and they were close. They were winning that game. The Packers with Rodgers MVP, like they also, you could have, I mean, they were a big favorite too. The Tampa Bay Bucks, they almost came back. Brady almost pulled it off, and then he almost won an 8th chip. I'm gonna say almost because they almost beat the Rams. But other than that, the Titans were a 1 seed, like, and they lost to the Bengals, of course. But there's a bunch of teams. I think there's really, I think you could argue that talk yourself into like at least 6 or 7 teams that you wouldn't be shocked if they had won this year. So it's a great
yeah.
thing for the league. I know we're gonna talk some NBA. We can see,
Well,
what are the issues with the NBA compared to the NFL that has all this parity right now.
yeah, and John, we're definitely I think we're gonna go and then talk about our early predictions, but we did jump the gun a little bit. We didn't do all of our Super Bowl takes. And so one thing I definitely wanted to throw out there, John, was Cooper Cup wins the Super Bowl MVP. Now, we all had a little bit of money, just a little bit of money on Aaron Donald because he had some nice long shot odds. I threw, I think, $10 on it. It would have been a nice big
I had
payout. I think at halftime we threw another $5 on it just because he still had really good odds. And I was really disappointed that he did not win. Now, Cooper Cup was great. Without Cooper Cup, they don't win the game. Without Cooper Cup, I actually don't even think they stand a chance at all. But without Aaron Donald, like, they won this game on defense. If you really look at it, I mean, they held.
Was it Cooper Cup's two touchdowns though?
They held it was, yes, but they held this Bengals team, John, to they only 20 points. But if you take away the offensive pass interference, it's a very different game, and I think we're looking at it a little bit differently. Ultimately, the offense wasn't pulling their weight, and Aaron Donald stood on his head, but along with the other defenders. Von Miller played great. The rest of the guys played great. But I really wanted to see Aaron Donald get the MVP, especially after his last play of the game, when you really had Jamar Chase wide open. There was some screenshots on Instagram and Twitter of how open Chase was, but it didn't matter because Burrow had basically half a second from the point he snapped the ball to when Aaron Donald was walking over his body. So I think he got robbed. I think, John, and we got 56 Super Bowls. There have been 8 wide receiver Super Bowl MVPs. Guess how many didn't have over 100 yards out of 8?
Listen, you say this, and
Just guess. Don't worry. I'll give you the explanation.
How many of them have there been? 8, you said?
There's been 8. How many didn't have over 100 yards?
Through 3.
Okay, the answer is 2, including Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup
So
at 92. What'd you
all
say?
right, wait. Here's a follow-up.
I know, I know you're gonna
How many
ask
of them
me.
had 2 touchdowns
Yeah,
though?
you're right. 0. Cooper Cup is the only other one. So
There you go. That's it.
Cooper Cup had 2 touchdowns. That's obviously big time. And I think anytime you have a receiver that has more than a touchdown, you probably end up just default giving it to the quarterback. There's been 31 out of 56 MVPs have been quarterbacks, right?
Honestly, I would
But
have expected to be more.
really, yeah, maybe. I mean, that's
35,
definitely that's about
40.
56%, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, John, I think that I was looking through the NFL, or excuse me, ESPN.com. They have a list of all of the MVPs, and I'm looking at some of these defensive players. And Donald, certainly his stat line matches up with the other defensive players that had won it. There was even one where you have Ray Lewis, and they don't even show his stats. It just says led a dominant Ravens defense. Then there was a year, this was Super Bowl 12, where 2 Dallas players, defensive players, tied for the MVP. And I kind of wish that you would have given it to Cooper Cup and Aaron Donald, which obviously it's a vote and whoever gets votes, whatever.
Yeah, I think
But
it really
I
was
think
like
Aaron Donald should have won it. I love Aaron Donald. His tears after the game. He was the first interview after the game. I think that also says a lot. So, it is what it is.
this is stupid too, but I did see a tweet that said something like they had to vote, right? They had to vote by like with the media members have to make their picks with like 2 minutes left in the game or something like that, which is totally ridiculous because
But
if
yeah,
you
I don't
could
know
have
if I
won that,
believe that. That's a time where I question Twitter.
yeah, and yeah, I'm gonna say it's BS, but that was people are saying that's a reason that Aaron Donald didn't get it because it was before that. But I think really you look at offense, defense. Cooper Cup did it on offense, Aaron Donald did it on defense, and unfortunately, our long shot bet didn't hit.
Yep. All right. So I think that'll
Wait,
be it for
one
our
last thing
Super.
I need to say,
Oh, you
Alex.
do?
I just need to say my favorite bets of the game that I won. I predicted Stafford to have exactly 3 touchdowns. I predicted Burrow to have exactly 1 touchdown. So those are my big wins of the day.
Oh, good job. Well, I had $5 on Odell Beckham to have the first touchdown of the game. So that
Okay,
was
there you go.
a nice hit for me. My $15 that I put on the Rams to win it all in November panned out. So that was nice as well. It saved me from all the other stupid losses like betting on tails and betting that the Gatorade would be yellow. But I also did actually bet, John, whoever won the coin toss was going to lose the game, which has now happened in 8 straight Super Bowls. And that bet also panned out. So
That's kind of starting to, it's getting fishy.
it
What's
is. It is a little fishy. It's definitely random, but anyway. All right, let's move on to our predictions for next year before we wrap up this episode and jump over to NBA. Let me read you the betting odds, John, currently. I mean, each book is different, but it seems like there's a relatively similar order that these teams are all in. All right. First, tied for most books, unless it's at plus 750 or plus 700. The Bills and the Chiefs. Some have the Chiefs above the Bills. Other books have the Bills above the Chiefs, but they're basically the same. The next team, John, who would you guess would be third after those two?
Bills, Chiefs. I guess I would say Rams.
Yeah, it's Rams. It's Rams, then Niners, then the Packers. The Packers, it makes sense to still have them while they still have Aaron Rodgers. Because I
Who
know,
would bet on that?
I mean, Packers fans maybe. Then you have the Cowboys, who actually I think if I had to pick on the NFC Championship game, I would actually say Rams Cowboys for next year. Anyway, so Bills, Chiefs, Rams, Niners, Packers, Cowboys. Then you have Bengals, Ravens, Titans, Chargers, Broncos, Cardinals, and then the Patriots right after, as well as the Buccaneers. So when you look at those teams, John, right now on February 15th, 2022, who will be playing in the Super Bowl 1 year from today? Not 1 year from today, but a year
I
from
think
now.
I have to just say, like, I would probably just put any wager that it's going to be one of the 2 teams that a lot of people said played in one of the greatest, if not the greatest, playoff game of all time. So Bills Chiefs, if the gun's to my head, I'm going to just take Mahomes again because
I wish that could be the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be an incredible Super Bowl?
I mean, the AFC, again, like I went down the line. The AFC is going to be loaded the next few years, but I would still just stick with Chiefs or Bills. Honestly, I might just I'd throw $10, $20 on both teams at the beginning of the season. And I don't think you can really go wrong because other than those two, like,
I don't know. You know what? Here on the record, February 15th, 2022, I'm going to say now that I think one of those two teams winning the Super Bowl next year.
Okay, that's not a hot take, bro.
Yeah.
But my pick, John, I'm gonna pick actually the matchup. I don't know if you want to pick your NFC champion, but I'm gonna say Chiefs over Rams, and I'm saying it today, and I'm gonna stick with it a year from now, barring anything absolutely absurd like Aaron Donald retiring, which I don't think is gonna happen. I'm on the Chiefs over Rams, wagon from now until next year, and I should have been on it since I wanted to get that Super Bowl a few years ago when they lost the stupid coin toss and you had the D Ford, offsides.
Right.
And I think that season, John, I think it was around Thanksgiving. We had that incredible regular season game. It was like one of the highest scoring regular season games ever between the Chiefs and the Rams. Rams pull it out. The Rams are better now, obviously. They made the Super Bowl that year, but now they have Stafford. They have obviously won a Super Bowl. So it's really hard to get back to the Super Bowl, but we've seen a few teams do it over the past few years. And I'm gonna pick Chiefs Rams for next year, John.
All right. I'll give you, then I'll have one more follow-up. If not the Rams in the NFC, who?
That's a much harder question than if you asked me for the Chiefs. But
I think because last year everyone said, "Oh, Bucks will make it back." They brought their whole team back. I think Rams, we could see them doing the same thing, but there's moves to be made. So we'll see, because you don't know what happens with the Niners. You don't know what happens.
No, I'll honestly right now, because I don't know what's gonna happen with the Packers. I don't know, where Russell Wilson's going. I don't know how good the Niners will be. I don't even know where Jimmy G's going. If Jimmy G goes to one of those teams, maybe he's able to somehow play a lot of playoff games like we've seen him do. But I would go with the Cowboys. That's who I would have to pick, because I like Dak. I still think clearly they have a great defense. They just kind of fell apart.
Sean Payton.
Maybe that's it's gonna have to take. But that would be my pick, John.
All right.
So I think that's it. I'll wrap it up for our Super Bowl show. Everyone, it's been a good one. We've had a nice 50 episodes. Thank you. We appreciate everyone for always listening. Have a good one. Peace out.
Go eat.